Good morning, everyone. So this review is for lessons 15 through 23, and we are reviewing for our linear quiz. Remember, most of the time we are working with this equation, y equals mx plus b, which is called your slope-intercept form. Remember, the m stands for your slope, and your b is your y-intercept. Remember, that's the point where your line crosses your y-axis. So let's get started. For this first equation, y equals 3x minus 7, if we are using the format y equals mx plus b, my m is just, my slope is going to be 3. Remember, it's the number glued to your x. And my y-intercept is the other value. In this case, it is negative 7. Don't forget your negative sign because of the subtraction. And now we're going to plot it. Remember, your first step is to always plot your y-intercept. So I'm going to plot it negative 7. And remember, when I'm plotting these, if my slope is not in fraction form, I'm going to put it in fraction form. So this would be the same as 3 over 1. Like I said, if your slope is not written as a fraction, put it over 1. So from your y-intercept, you're going to be going up 3, right 1, and plot it. And it's hard for me to plot on this, so just bear with me. I'm going to keep on doing that. Up 3, right 1, plot it. Up 3, right 1, plot it, and so forth. And if you're doing this correctly, you should be getting a straight line. And what's the opposite of going up 3, right 1? Well, it's going down 3, left 1. And if I do that, I will still fall in the straight line. And then, as always, you're going to want to draw a line to connect your dots. I'm not going to do that on the screen, though, because it would look very sloppy. Down here, the number that's glued to my x would be negative 2/5. And my y-intercept is the number by itself, which is positive 10. So first I'm going to plot that positive 10 on my y-axis. And then I'm going to use my slope. It's already in fraction form. Remember, your slope is rise over run. So for my slope, I'm going to be going down 2, right 5. And then you plot it. Down 2, right 5. And you plot it. And the opposite of going down 2, right 5, I would be going up 2, left 5. And you're going to want to plot it. And then, as always, you would want to draw a line to connect your dots. For number 3, your equation is not in the y equals mx plus b form. And as you can see, we tell you to solve for y to put in slope-intercept form. So that is your first step. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. 4x plus 6y equals 12. Remember, your goal is to get y by itself doing opposite or inverse operations. So since I have a positive 4x, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. That would give me 6y equals 12 minus 4x. To get y by itself, the opposite of multiplying by 6 would be dividing every single term by 6. Those would cancel. So I'm left with y equals 12 divided by 6 is 2 minus 4, 6x. So technically you could leave it in that form. We would like you to write it as y equals 2 minus 2/3 x, though, because this is a simplified form of the one above. I just simplified my fraction. But either or would work on this test. So my y-intercept, no matter what, was the positive 2. Remember, it's the number without the x. My slope, remember, my m is the number glued to my x. So in this case, my slope is negative 2/3, or if you wrote it in the other format, it would have been negative 4, 6. Like I said, we would prefer to see it in the simplified form. And then you plot it. So my y-intercept was a positive 2. And then I'm going to use my simplified form to graph it. So I'm going to go down 2, right 3. And I'm going to keep on doing this. And you would have something that looks like this. And the opposite of going down 2, right 3 would be going up 2, left 3, and plot it. And you should have something that looks like this on your screen. And then, as always, draw a line. Since we're linear, straight line, connect your dots. So here we're just stating our slopes and our y-intercept. My slope in this case is -4. It was the number glued to my x. 10 was my y-intercept. Over here, the number that's glued to my x would be 5, and my y-intercept is 6. Down here, they are not in slope-intercept form, so that's what we have to do first. First, we have to get y by itself. So for this one, 28x minus 7y equals 21. First thing, get rid of the 28x. So I'm going to do the opposite. Subtract 28x from both sides. Those cancel, so I have -7y equals 21 minus 28x. Then I'm going to divide every single term by -7. These cancel. So I would have y equals 21 divided by -7 is -3. A -28 divided by -7 is a positive 4x. There you have it. Now I can find my m and my b. So my m, my slope, the value glued to my x is positive 4. My b, -3. Over here we have -3x plus 2y equals 16. The opposite of subtracting 3 or a -3 is adding 3x. Therefore, I would have 2y equals 16 plus 3x. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is to divide every single term by 2. So I would have y equals 8 plus 3/2 x. If your fraction does not divide nicely, I would prefer you to leave it in fraction form. So the value glued to my x for my slope is 3/2. The other value, my y-intercept, is positive 8. So on this page, we are finding our x and our y-intercepts, and then we are going to graph it. So remember, when you find your x-intercept, you're basically writing down all the information with my x. So I would write down 4x equals, on the other side, all I have is 12. And then you're going to get x by itself. The opposite of multiplying would be to divide. So I have x equals 3. And then you must write it as an ordered pair. If it's the x-intercept, x goes first. You're not moving it all along on your y, so y would be 0. And then I would plot that on my x-axis. For my y-intercept, I write down the information with my y, so I have 2y equals 12. The opposite of multiplying by 2, of course, is dividing by 2. So we have y equals 6. And then if I wrote down that ordered pair, x is 0 because we're not moving it along on my x at all. 6 was my y. And it would be plotted right there. As always, draw your line through them. And we can move on. For x-intercept, write down everything with your x. So I have -3x equals 30. Divide both sides by -3. And in this case, x would be -10. And if I wrote it as an ordered pair, which you must on your test, it would be -10, 0. And I would plot that point on my x-axis. For my y-intercept, write down the information with my y. 5y equals 30. Divide everything by 5. And in this case, y would be 6. As my ordered pair, though, it would be 0, 6 because you're not moving at all on your x-axis. I would plot that on my y-axis and then make sure to draw your line through your data. If we keep on going, my x-intercept, -4x equals 24. You can divide both sides by -4. And in this case, x equals -6. So my x-intercept would be -6, 0. My y-intercept, 8y equals 24. Divide both sides by 8. So here we have y is equal to 3, and my ordered pair would be 0, 3. So now let's plot them. -6 on my x-axis and +3 on my y. And then make sure you draw a straight line through your data. So this one, we are just plugging in our values into our equation to see if it's a solution. Remember, if it's a solution, it would work. Both sides would match up. And remember, I'm hoping you remember by now, it's always x comma y in an ordered pair. So over in my equation, instead of x, I plug in 5 plus 3. Instead of y, I plug in 8. And I want to know if this equals 19. Well, I would have 5 plus 3 times 8 is 24. I want to know if this equals 19. 5 plus 24 gives me 29. Since 29 does not equal 19, that ordered pair is not a solution, because if you graphed this data, this point would not be on the line. Down here, plug it in, plug it in. So we would have 2 times -3, because that was my x, minus 4 times -10, and I want to know if it equals 34. Well, 2 times -3 is -6. -4 times -10 is a +40. -6 plus 40 is 34. So 34 does equal 34, so yes, this would be a solution. If you graph that line, this point would be actually on it. Okay, so now we're going to write the equation. First thing, see if you can find your slope, which I can. My y-intercept. My y-intercept is right there, so I know my b is +3. To find my slope, remember we pick 2 points and do our rise over our run. So I have one of the points chosen. The other point I'm going to choose is down here. Make sure you pick those good little crosshair sections. So I am rising 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm running 1, 2, 3. So my slope would be 7/3. Like I said, if it does not divide nicely, keep it in fraction form. So my equation would be y equals 7/3 x plus 3. If we look for our y-intercept, it would be right here, so I know my b is -1. For my slope, to find another good point where it crosses my crosshairs at, so right there might be good. I'm rising 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm running to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But since we go to the left, it's -5. So I would have 4 over -5. So my equation would look like y equals 4 over -5x minus 1. Next problem. Same thing. I can see my y-intercept is right there at +4. And my slope, let's figure it out. So I'm rising 1, 2, 3. I'm running to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope, 3 over 4. Therefore, my equation would be y equals 3/4 x plus 4. Down here. Now, if you look right here, I'm going to put it in green, is my y-intercept. But I do not know that exact location. So first, when you don't know your y-intercept, you must find your slope. So I'm going to pick 2 points on my line. So I'm going to choose that point there and this point down here. My rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. And my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my slope is 4/9. Remember, if you don't know your y-intercept, you have to do that lengthy process. So I would write y equals 4/9 x plus b. It does not matter if I choose this ordered pair or this ordered pair. Whichever ordered pair you choose, if you do it correctly, you'll still get the same y-intercept. So I'm going to choose this ordered pair here. And that ordered pair would be 6, 5. So instead of y, I'm going to write down 5, 4/9. Instead of x, I'm going to multiply it by my x value, which is 6. So I would have 5 equals 4/9 times 6 would give you 24/9. And to get b by itself, you must subtract 24/9 from both sides. These cancel, and 5 minus 24/9 would give you 7/3 as your b. So we have our b, we have our slope, we can write our equation. Y equals 4/9 x plus 7/3. And remember, the good way to check to make sure 7/3 as a decimal is roughly 2.3. So just so you know, that's roughly 2.3. And if I look, my y-intercept looks to be about 2.3 right there. It's a good way to double check. Here's another one. For my y-intercept, I don't know that location. So remember, when you do not know the location, you must find your slope first. So I'm going to pick this point and this point. I'm rising 1. I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my slope is 1/5. So I have y equals 1/5 x plus b. Remember, it does not matter which ordered pair you plug in. I'm going to plug in this ordered pair, which was -3, 1. So instead of y, I have 1. Instead of x, I have -3. Therefore, I have 1 equals -3/5 plus b. And then the opposite of subtracting 3 would be, subtracting 3/5 would be adding 3/5. These cancel, and if I would take 1 plus 3/5 in my calculator, I would get 8/5. So I have my y-intercept, I have my slope. Let's write my equation. Y equals 1/5 x plus 8/5. All right, some of the problems, remember, I give you a slope and the point. So in this case, I would just start writing down my y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to plug everything in. Remember, it goes x, y in an ordered pair. So instead of y, I'm going to plug in 2. Instead of m, it tells me my slope is -2. Instead of x, my x value in my ordered pair was 3 plus b. So I would have 2 equals -2 times 3 is -6 plus b. The opposite of subtracting 6 would be adding 6 to both sides. So in this case, we would have 8 for my b, or my y-intercept. I have my b, I have my m, my slope. Let's just put it all in equation form. Y equals -2x plus 8. So the one down here requires a little bit more work because I do not have the slope. I only have 2 ordered pairs. So if that's the case, the first step you must do is find your slope. Remember, to find your slope, you could do y minus y over x minus x. And I'm just going to circle my y values so you know. And that might be helpful for you on the test because you'll know that those go in my numerator. So I would have -4 minus 11, and then my x's would be 3 minus -2. -4 minus 11 is -15, and 3 minus -2 is a +5. When I divide, I get -3 for my slope. So remember, once you have your slope, you can start writing your equation. Y equals -3x plus b. Remember, it does not matter if I choose this ordered pair or this ordered pair. I'm going to choose the ordered pair -2, 11. So I'm going to plug everything in. 11 for my y, -2 for my x. And now we're going to multiply and solve. So I would have 11 equals Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6 plus b. I'll subtract 6 from both sides to give me 5. So 5 is my y-intercept, and therefore I have my y-intercept, I have my slope. Let's write the equation. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. Ta-da! All right, last page, everyone. These are writing your equations from tables. Remember, it's the same process as we did before. So to find my slope, and remember we're doing y minus y over x minus x. You pick any two ordered pairs you want. So I'm going to pick the ordered pair 1, 2, and 2, 0. And if it's helpful for you to circle your y's to know to put them in the numerator, feel free. So for my slope, I would have 2 minus 0 over 1 minus 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. And when I divide, I get negative 2. So negative 2 is my slope. And actually, you could do that long process to find your y-intercept. Or if you remember the trick, if you see when x is 0 in the table, whatever your y value is your b. So my equation would look like y equals negative 2x plus 4. Remember that trick only works when you see the x is 0 in your table. Down here, if we find our slope, pick any 2 points you want. So I'm going to pick 2, I'm going to pick 2, 5 and 3, 8. Remember, it does not matter. So if I'm finding my slope, my y's, I would subtract 5 minus 8 over 2 minus 3. 5 minus 8 is negative 3. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And when we divide, we get a positive 3. Now I can see my y-intercept's not in the table because I don't have a 0 in my x column. So that's when you're going to want to do that other process, y equals 3x plus b. You can plug in any ordered pair you want. I'm going to plug in 5, 14. Therefore, I would have 14 equals 3 times 5 plus b. Remember, all I did was plug in 5 for my x and 14 for my y. Let's multiply and solve to give us 14 equals 3 times 5 is 15 plus b. Subtract 15 from both sides. And I would have negative 1 is my y-intercept. So my equation would be y equals 3x minus 1. And technically there is a way to double check or a different method to find your y-intercept. You could have worked backwards in your table to the 0. Remember, when you are working backwards, you take the opposite of your slope. So instead of a positive 3, since I'm working backwards, I would subtract 3. So 5 minus 3 would give you 2. And 2 minus 3 gives you negative 1. As you can see, I have the same y-intercept as I got there. Whatever method works for you. And here we go for the last problem. To find my slope, remember, pick any 2 ordered pairs you want. I'm going to pick 2, 12 and 5, 0. So if I subtract my y values, I would have 12 minus 0 over 2 minus 5. Make sure to always put your y's in your numerator. I would get 12 over negative 3, which is negative 4. So negative 4 is my slope. So far I would have y equals negative 4x plus b. Be careful. Your y-intercept is not 5. A lot of kids look just to find a 0 in the table, but the 0 must be in your x column, which I do not see. So remember, one process is to plug in an ordered pair, which I will do. I'm going to plug in 2, 12. So I would have 12 equals negative 4 times 2 plus b. 12 equals negative 8 plus b. To get b by itself, I have to add 8 to both sides. So 20 would be my y-intercept. And then I could write my equation. Y equals negative 4x plus 20. Remember, technically, if you didn't want to do this process, you could work backwards in your table if that's helpful for you. So I'm going to work backwards to 0. in my x column. So when you do that, you take the opposite of your slope. So instead of subtracting 4, I'm going to add 4. So 12 plus 4 would give you 16, and 16 plus 4 would give you 20. As you can see, when x is 0, y is 20, and it matches my y-intercept I got there. I hope this information helps you. Remember, if you have questions, make sure you ask your teachers, study hard, and have a great day.